Travis Wayne Goodsell. In my pre-show video, I mentioned that there was a falling symbolism for the sign in the heavens for this conference weekend, where the moon was at the mouth of Leo yesterday, and today is at the King Star, Regis, and Virgo has falling stars, and Venus is at the end of Aries. And if you're unfamiliar with any of this video obviously isn't for you. But if you're new and you're interested and you're curious, Joseph Smith translation, Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. Sign in the heavens in the likeness of things on the earth. This was the ancient understanding. The signs in the heavens that we have in our scriptures are star dates. And they specifically designated the constellations with the particular animals or humans, and designated the names of the planets. And so as the planets and the sun and the moon go through the constellations along the zodiac, they're able to tell stories. And the accuracy of the signs connected with the stories they're telling pertaining to the latter days indicates that they were very intellectual, very smart in regards to the science of astronomy, because they knew when the 3 days of darkness, solar eclipses, would occur over the United States of America, and where, when and where. They knew this. And this goes back way before recorded history, because the stories that emerge with the pyramid texts indicate that it was known prior to that. The pyramid texts are the oldest documents on the face of the earth, despite what Assyriologists tell you. Egypt is the origin of mankind, specifically further south in the eastern half of Africa. That's where the oldest humans are being uncovered, and our DNA is connecting to them as migration proceeded forth from there. And so that's what I'm referring to when you read the scriptures and you see that Jesus is the bridegroom of the church. You're supposed to understand that the character that represents the learning of the Jews, Christ, whom Joseph Smith says will be a Mormon, that's who you're supposed to replace for Jupiter. And Mars, well, apparently Mars, or Nelson's parents, Mars's parents, named him Mars. Russell, red. Marion, little star. Or, yeah, well, star in outer space, in the waters of space. And so the red star, Mars. And the bride of Nelson is the church, and so that's Mormons, is Venus. And Virgo is also the church, giving birth to Jupiter, the man like Moses, the Mormon Christ, one mighty and strong, whatever name you know him by, is Emmanuel, technically. That's his official name, surname. And so the sun is for government and is the right eye of Horus from the Egyptians, and left eye is religion for the left eye of Horus, and is the moon. And so the religion is there with the Leo constellation, which is phonetically the same as Utah. Judah, Utah. And so I was making a prediction based on how the ancients would interpret the sign in the heavens for over conference weekend. And so, yes, I was very interested, curious about the announcement that Elder Holland has COVID. Now, he's had his shots. All of the prophets did, even though the three youngest or newest apostles had gotten COVID during the main rush. But according to Utah's coronavirus website, we're in the green. And the numbers did a major drop on Thursday. And so for Holland to contract COVID is very curious. It's one of those rare things. No, I do not have it. But yeah, you can access it. Coronavirus.utah.gov. What's the site again? Come on. Coronavirus.utah.gov. My connection is not interrupted. Cut it out. And you click on case counts. And then the overview tab is the first one that pops up for you. And you have to wait for it to come up before you can check out the other tabs. I weekly, because they only do it weekly now, I used to do it daily. I kept track of all of this daily. I was well aware of the dangers and of COVID and doing my videos on it. And the YouTube Mormon employee took advantage of that and wrongfully dismissed me. Come on. Dismissed a couple of my videos out of hatred, just to silence my voice before previous conferences. Utah Department of Health and Human Services. Is that the combined one? Because it's combined now. And being in the shelter, I saw no results of any kind of benefit with the combination. So I don't think they actually did anything beneficial as they claimed they were going to. This is not working. But I was also very curious as to why Nelson did not have a prophetic speaker for the third session on Saturday, and that's why it ended so early. There were no prophetic speakers at all. It was all members of the 70 or one of the other groups or whatever. That was also unusual. But everybody was expecting Nelson. At least I was, because that's been the pattern. If he doesn't speak in the first two, he's going to speak in the third. And then he does the Sunday morning and then talks at the temples. Usually the pattern. 3 talks per conference. And Nelson has been sneaking in a 4th on several occasions, at the beginning at least. So, yeah, Total COVID cases, people that have tested positive, are 1,093,598. Total hospitalizations to date, 42,589. Total number of deaths, 5,320. That's horrifying. That's unacceptable. And it pisses me off when people say that, oh, this wasn't so bad. So disgusting. And they've got the new wastewater sites elevated or increasing. And that doesn't seem to confirm what we're being told about the wastewater percentage, because they're usually able to predict which locations are going to get an increase of COVID positive testing. And there's been a scandal with this website, because I've been monitoring it daily in the beginning and was able to recognize that they were not including the elderly. The elderly has a completely different site, so the deaths are not being included on this. And it's just such a scandal. So, yeah, I just thought I'd put that out there as we're entering into the second day of conference, that a message of some kind of sacrifice was going to be made. And with Holland testing positive for COVID, that's a sacrifice. Even though he's also under fire, and it's coincidentally timed here, he was going to give the commencement or inaugural or whatever address at the one university here in Utah, or one college here in Utah. And there was a protest movement to ban him from speaking because of his hate comments and death threats that he's previously given at other talks. And so it is interesting that they were specifically looking to hear him speak this conference to find more reasons to keep him from speaking at the university or the college. And he's not appearing because he's got COVID? But the old age, Holland was my first pick to bite the big one, even before Ballard, even before Eyring. Because of what I did to him back when I was suing the church. And I was getting pissed because the judge, I was not getting a response from the judges. She had been fired, and she went silent for the remainder of the term until she was forced out. She did nothing, and so I was helpless. It was ridiculous. And just waited until the next person replaced her, who was specifically hired to dismiss my case. And Judge Waddups is Mormon. He was the chief judge over the case, and obviously denied it as well. You're supposed to recuse yourself. So the second time I sued, 3 Mormon judges immediately recused themselves. Is it Spencer? Took some doing. But yeah, you cannot sue the church in Utah. The judges will not allow you. They protect the church. And so I filed in the first one documents because I knew it would be in the public domain. Even when I knew they were going to dismiss my case and deny me justice, deny me my First Amendment right to petition the government for a redress of grievances, I knew I needed to get some information out to expose the church. And so I filed the picture of the keystone on the door of the Salt Lake Temple. Waddups called that an ad hominem attack. It's carved in stone evidence. But that Monday, Holland was speaking with a rabbi out in Jerusalem through video chat, and so it wasn't until after he had finished that morning when the lawyers can then counsel clients. They have to do that. Travis has filed another thing. This is what he filed, and they're supposed to counsel with their clients. So updating the prophets on a regular basis whenever I filed. And we find out 2 weeks later, on a Friday, from the church news, just a little thing, Elder Holland is doing well, out of the hospital. He had suffered some kind of episode that he ended up in the hospital. And it was from that Monday, after his little video chat, when the lawyers would have reached out and said, we need to have consultation on this particular filing that Travis had sent in. So, hey, he had a heart attack over the inverted pentagram of Lucifer. That is the symbol of their church. And so, I'm very well aware of any little change that they announce in the church news and in conference. And so with the sign in the heavens, I was very curious. And so to not have any prophet speak for that third session, and to not have Nelson show up at all, because he looked fine. He was at the edge of his seat, smiling when the camera was on him. And, nothing. That was very unusual. So, here we go with Sunday.